Classic Restos, proudly brought to you by Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Classic Restos. Of course, not possible without the continued support of Shannons Insurance. In fact, when you get a moment, why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote on 134646. And Shannons offer a 10% multi-policy discount if you add your home insurance to your car or bike insurance. How cool is that? Visit Shannons online at shannons.com.au, and don't forget, while you're there, sign up and become a member of the Shannons Club. On last week's show, I couldn't wait to bring you just some of the 2013 Carlisle Ford Nationals here in Pennsylvania, United States of America. And now it's time for more with episode 2. Now, if you did miss last week's Classic Restos, you should be ashamed of yourself. But hey, I'll let you off just this once. The fine people at Carlisle Events, Pennsylvania, USA had me return once again so I can show you just a slice of the 2013 Ford Nationals. There was a segment on the all-new Ford Raptor, a fire-breathing 6.2-litre V8, spinning out 411 horsepower. It's an all-terrain vehicle that not only pins you to your seat on takeoff, but also allows you to jump over the rough stuff in some traditional class and style as well. Building T gave us the opportunity to see the original 1976 Ford Torino used in the Starsky and Hutch TV series. There was Building G, where the rarest of hypo 289 Ford V8 cars were sitting. And believe me, to see these original examples were amazing. Whether you're into Fords or not, these are incredible benchmark cars. There was some action showcasing some brilliant drifting ability on one of the tightest drifting circuits, and it was all up close, in your face, and non-stop. The Saturday night street parade still commands some of the beautiful downtown Carlisle's streets to be closed, where thousands of locals and tourists line the streets traditionally to watch in awe the rare sight of almost 3,000 Ford entrants showing off their late model or classic Ford. As a matter of fact, if what you drive this weekend has FORD badged somewhere, you can bring it here. Of course, too, the 2013 Carlisle Ford Nationals lends itself to endless opportunities to interview some of the entrants. It's time now to meet and greet some more. Moving through the 2013 Carlisle Ford Nationals, and isn't it amazing the stories that come with these cars? Welcome to the show, Steve.
Thank you, Fletch.
Love this car. Now, tell us about the original owner, first of all, because next I want to talk about the interior. That's one of the things that have really grabbed me on this car. But before we talk about that, who owned it before you?
I bought this car from a dealer in Hanover, and he had kept it in storage for 11 years. He had taken the car at the trade-in when it was only 11 years old. So really, when we had bought the car, it was 22 years old, and it had only actually been on the road for 11 years. So we got a car with only 49,000 miles on, and this was in '92, and we've been taking it to shows ever since.
Steve, it's absolutely amazing. 1970 Thunderbird. The original owner, now apparently he was in a nursing home.
Yes, he was. We met him about 6 months after we bought the car, and he recognized the car. He said he had fond memories of driving the car. He told us he never drove the car in the winter, so it never got any stone chips on it. He really kept good care of it, and I don't think anybody ever sat in the back seat of the car.
You took the car down to the nursing home to show the guy, right? Did he get emotional?
Yes, he did. Yeah. We were glad that he got to see the car one last time, because it's a few months later after that he died. So we were happy that he got to see his car one last time.
The memories that he would have had with this car. Have you ever, in your born days, seen a nicer interior? There might be plenty around that are close or even on par, but I don't think that there'd be many that are better.
And we got a lot of remarks on the interior. People have asked us if it's been restored or repaired, and I says no, and they find that hard to believe. So, like I said, it has been kept exceptionally good care of. I mean, we always cover the seats before we sit on it to drive it. So it is an exceptionally nice interior, and it's held up well over the years.
There's no eating burgers or anything in the back.
Heavens no.
Well, I guess a thick shake's out of the question. The curvature of the back seat, Steve, is amazing. That wrap around that bolster. I mean, we all know these cars were built back in a time when pride was taken, when one manufacturer would try and outdo the other. The GM boys and the Chrysler boys must have seen the back seat of this car and thought, wow, well, how do we compete with that?
Yeah, the Thunderbird had that wraparound rear seat from 1967 through 71. And I've heard it was a very comfortable seat for 2 people, but not 3 because of the curve.
I reckon there would have been many occasions where 2 people would have been on that back seat. Maybe not in this particular car, but in others.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah.
Steve, great catching up with you. Love your car. And it was really, I guess, an interview to find out about the original owner and the interior, but we have to mention what's lurking under the hood.
It's got a 429 cubic inch 4-barrel carbureted engine. It was one of the largest engines that Ford built that year. The only engine was larger they put in the Lincoln Mark III, and that was a 460.
I bet the way it's geared too, I bet it's effortless on the freeway.
Yes, it is. It's a big old luxury car. I guess some people call them big boats, but it just floats down the highway. It rides very well.
It'd sit on 120 miles an hour without a problem.
I've never tried that.
You know it would do it.
I think it would, yeah, yeah.
I love how reserved these guys are because, you know, they still put their foot down now and again and appreciate what's there, and that's, yeah, it's all about just enjoying the dream. Good on you, Steve.
No, thank you.
And just when Steve thought he was going to get away from Fletch, he lifts his trunk lid and he's got this trophy in the back. Steve, congratulations. This is outright, is that correct?
Yes, it is, Fletch.
For Best Original?
Yes, presented to us by the Historic Vehicle Association. And they go to shows like this. They also go to concourse like Pebble Beach. And they give this a similar trophy out to cars at bigger concourse like this. So we were really surprised that they would come to a show like this and award us a trophy like this.
That's amazing. This is, in all honesty, I did not know that this was in the trunk. There's nearly 3,000 Fords here this weekend at Carlisle, and this guy here pulls off this one. That's just so good. Congratulations again, Steve. Well done.
Okay, thank you, Fletch.
I hope you're really enjoying the 2013 Carlisle Ford Nationals, and you're watching it first on Classic Restos thanks to Shannons Insurance. Here we go, the first Torino out on the field, apart from the Starsky and Hutch Torino on last week's show. We got Charlie now. How you doing, Charlie?
I'm just fine, Fletch. Thank you.
That's good. The presentation here of your car is beautiful. Give us the rundown.
Well, it's a 1973 Ford Gran Torino Sport, and has a 351 Cleveland, the Cobra Jet engine, and it's automatic, and it's been restored, it's been repainted, and the engine's been worked over, and it's a 1-of-1 just because of the way the options came with the radio, the steering wheel, the automatic, the white with no trim, very little trim. And it came out of Detroit. That's where the original purchase was. And I've had it for about 6 years now.
So when you say 1-of-1, it's the only car in the United States?
It's the only one like this one. Back then, when you ordered options, you usually didn't order packages as you do now. But you ordered each option independently. So the way you would order a vehicle would make it more exclusive. So, and there was so many options back then. And
some guys told me it used to take literally a day. I mean, to order your brand new car back in those times, you had to allocate a day. By the time you sat down with the salesman, if you're particularly an enthusiast and you were fussy about what you were buying, you would allow a day to order your car.
Definitely, and sometimes they would be 2 pages. A 2-page sticker. I've seen that before with a heavily optioned vehicle. But this one's got a moderate amount of options, and it's more performance for 73 than it is anything else.
Yeah, because 73, we're talking the era of when the power dropped away. I mean, different camshaft profiles, lower compression ratios, smog-related issues. You know, I think engines became less powerful, but then they started giving the interiors seemingly more comfort. They tried to build it up and make it up to the purchaser in other ways, didn't they?
That's right. You had air conditioning more coming out in 72 and 73. We lost 100 horsepower from the 71 to 72. Same engine, but they detuned the engine, lowered the compression, and the vehicle got a little bit heavier too. This one's well over 4,200 pounds.
That's an interesting scenario. Vehicles in the 70s actually did increase in weight, didn't they, there for quite a portion of it? Yeah.
Too. And the difference between a 72, which is over here on my left, and a 73 is the big bumper. And that added a lot of weight too.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks so much, Fletch. Bye now.
Moving through now with Dan the tall man with a 1966 Ford Fairlane. This is beautiful. Everything's beautiful here. How are you, Dan?
We're doing wonderful today, thank you.
That's good. Dan, tell us about the car.
Fletch, it's a 66 Ford Fairlane. We picked it up from a gentleman out of Ontario, Canada, and brought it back to the United States about 3 years ago.
Look at you. Look how happy you are. You've got a good score here. When you were a young guy and these cars were newer, did you used to look at them then?
My grandfather was a mechanic, so I grew up loving cars, working on cars, and learned how to wrench early in life.
And see, lucky too, I guess. You grew up with these, you took them for granted, but from Australia, we look at you guys and think, wow, you know, you grew up as kids with all this fantastic machinery around you, and not just one model with one trim option. You had so many variants to choose from.
We grew up a Ford family and have loved the Fords all our life, which is why we ended up with a Fairlane.
Well, don't worry, they're popular down under as well. They're a very good product. Now, Dan, when you got the car, how did it look?
It was painted the way it is now. It was restored to original specifications, had the original 289 C4 automatic and a little 8-inch rear end. And so when we bought the car about 3.5 years ago, we drove it for the first year and had fun with it the way it was, but we wanted to turn it into our version of a mid-60s muscle car.
Well, Dan, bit of psychological disorder carrying on here. Under the hood, what have you done with the injection system?
Well, we found a Borla stack date fuel injection system and put it on top of a Windsor-based motor. And
as you do.
As we did, and we punched and bored it out to 427, so she's pushing about 600 horsepower.
Okay, so we're looking at 351 out to 427.
Correct. Right.
See, beauty of that too, big capacity, keeping all lightweight. You haven't got the weight of a big block.
Correct. So we're able to maintain the ride height of the car, and then with the stock suspension out rear, it just gives it the nice little rake to it.
Probably one of the lamest questions that can come from a TV host of a classic car TV show is, how does it go?
She gets to the grocery store okay.
And not only does it get to the store, it gets back and the groceries are unpacked before anyone else in the street.
I have to go to the grocery store 2 or 3 times because I keep forgetting stuff because I want to go back out.
Isn't that great, eh? A guy with his car, loves driving it that much, he makes excuses to go shopping. I love it. Good on you, Dan. Thanks for being on today's show, and thank you for being a part of Carlisle.
Thank you very much, Fletch.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, take care.
Getting around the grounds, huge property here, way over 100 acres. Trying to get to every pavilion is a major task. We're in Building A now. We've got Rob. Welcome to today's show, Rob.
Fletch, thank you.
1961 Starliner. What an incredible car. Now, what's the difference between this and a Galaxy?
Well, it's one style that was different and had the, some of them have the hypos in them, and this one has the hypo, the 401 hypo. And my son purchased it for me and gave it to me as a birthday present in November.
Your son gave it to you?
Yeah, he went out and found it. I had one when I was a youngster, right, 21 years old.
Yeah.
And I kept telling him about it over the years, that, you know, what I had in the past. And we saw one up here one day, and he didn't tell me, but then he started looking.
Rob, you must have been a pretty cool dad to him for him to do that for you.
I think so. He seems to, you know, appreciate me, I guess. I was good to him when he was a little guy.
That is so awesome. What's so special about this 1961 car is the options list. This is performance. Look up performance in the dictionary. There's a picture of this car there. The thing is, too, it represented the super stock class.
Well, it's 1961. They came out. They did started the drag racing series back then, and the 409 Chevys were kind of taking over. So Ford decided to come out. They had 60. They had a 360 high performance, and then 61 they came out with the 375 with the 4-barrel, and had the column shift. They all had column shifts with the 4-barrel. And then the Ford decided, well, we need a little more because if the 409 Chevys had the 4-speed and all this. So they would ship you the tri-power system in the trunk. You buy the car new, 4-barrel, and the dealer would put the tri-power on and switch it. And also they would put you in a 4-speed if you wanted that. So
back in the days of options, incredible options. They were also remarkably close to us competitors, as you referred to, the Chevy 409, the 390 in these cars. I mean, you know, we had the 426 Ram Chargers before the 426 Hemis came around. I mean, it must have been an exciting era that I know that you could have remembered very well. What I love about this car is we've got 390, tri-power carbs, 4-speed, Hurst shifter, steel wheels. It's just they've got a look of their own, don't they?
It's a fantastic car. It's got all kinds of torque and power.
And then on top of that, we've got a lot of class as well. We've got some stainless steel. We've got some nice fins out back. Beautiful car.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, I've enjoyed it. And like I say, I had one back in '62 that had a Continental kit on the back, and I would tell my son about it, you know, before he was born. And he finally started looking for one for me.
Good on you, Rob. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying the car, and it's great to catch up with you.
I appreciate it.
That's all right. You're welcome.
I hope you enjoy the car as much as I enjoy it.
Absolutely. My word. Yeah. Don't give me the keys. You might not get it back.
Okay, right.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
The swap sites here at Carlisle are simply amazing. In fact, if you were to walk up and down every row of the swap sites here, you would be walking tens of miles. When you consider an allocated portion of well over a 100-acre property, the amount of swappers space is incredible. One thing that hits me is the variety of parts and the quantity still around. Sure, it's about the cars here and the people that own them, but there's just something about walking through the parts areas. All the stuff you may have been chasing for years may be all laid out right in front of you. I hope you're really enjoying today's episode of Classic Restos, and if you are enjoying the TV show, the DVD boxed sets, along with Classic Restos merchandise, can be found at classicrestos.com.au. And while you're there, check out the major sponsors, Shannons Insurance. Welcome back. Time now for a 1954 Mercury Monterey. What an incredible car. Welcome to the show, Bob.
Thank you, Fletch.
Are you enjoying Carlisle?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How long have you had this car?
I just recently bought it.
I can't believe how rocket and jet inspired this old car is for 1954. I mean, this is before during the rocket era. I mean, look at the steering wheel. The first thing that gets me is the interior. You look at the steering wheel, between there and the dash cluster, there's like this platform and you've got levers. That's extraordinary.
Yeah, they were very forward thinking back then.
Yeah, kind of, I guess, you know, where the Jetsons came from.
Yeah, probably.
Have you done anything with the car, Bob, since you've had it?
No, it's as I bought it.
Okay. The engine, what are we looking at under the hood?
Well, it's had a modern engine put in.
Okay.
Model of the engine is a 351 Windsor. Okay. It's a late model motor with auto, they say overdrive automatic, AOD automatic. Yep. It's got vintage air conditioning. It's got rack and pinion, power rack and pinion steering. Yep. And power brakes.
Okay. All right. So you've got a bit of late model stuff there in the old style, a bit of best of both worlds. I guess with that combination, it would drive quite nicely.
Yes, it does.
And Bob, when you put your right foot down, does it get up and boogie?
Yeah, it does. Okay.
Yeah. You're a bit of a hot rodder from way back.
Yeah.
So it gets him smiling. So you start reminiscing. You know, when you were a guy back in the college days, what car did you drive back then?
Well, my first car was a '53 Ford hardtop.
Wow. So you've always been in that sort of bracket, that era of car.
Yeah.
How does it make you feel now at this stage of life and driving this '54 car?
It's a lot of fun.
What I love about it too, there's something about red and black. I have said that many times before on the TV show. Red and black. It's there's something about that. Incredible too with its stainless steel. Look how straight it is. I mean, from a distance, it's a knockout car. I mean, it really is as straight as a die. The paint's good. Continental kit out back. You've got the full package going on, Bob.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad you've turned up at Carlisle. Thanks for your time and for being on the show, eh?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
The college town of Carlisle, Pennsylvania is an absolutely beautiful tourist destination. If you would like to see some of this amazing area of the United States in conjunction with one of your favourite car shows, you may be looking at joining a Fletch tour. We are taking expressions of interest now for 2014. Send me an email via classicrestos.com.au. Time for an Edsel, a 1959 Edsel. How are you, Henry?
I'm fine, Fletch. How are you?
Good, thank you. Henry, that's appropriate with a subsidiary of Ford with an Edsel?
Yes, sir.
Now, what's the story here? Now, Edsel got a real bad rap in their day, didn't they?
Yes, they did. The 58s came out, and there was a lot of technology that they didn't perfect, such as the push-button drive in the steering column. The electric motors on the transmission were too light for the car, and they wouldn't work properly, and they'd burn out. So,
back in the day, Henry, did recalls back to the dealerships fix the problem?
well, they did fix the problems, but back in the day there was only a 90-day warranty on these cars, not like today with 100,000 and 5 years or whatever. So you had a 90-day warranty.
Okay, so the history of Edsel, it ran, okay, well this is a 1959 model, so when did they start?
They came out in 57 with the 58 model, and they ended in 59 with the 60 model. Wow. There were only 3 years. Total production 112,846 or something like that.
Kind of sad in a way, but now where we are on the scale of time, it's good to look back and know that just a limited amount were actually made, because it makes them more classical today, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay, Henry, engine packages, what are we looking at?
In 58 there was only 2 available, the 361 cubic inch and the 410 cubic inch. And that sort of did them in a little bit too, because everybody was on an economy craze. The price of gas just increased by 15 cents or something like that. And then in 59 they offered a 223 6-cylinder, 292 V8, 332 V8, and a 361 V8.
I just would have thought back in 1959 that fuel and economy was a tautology.
Well, there was a lot of people that lived on a certain amount of income, and when you're driving a 410 cubic inch that only gets 8 or 10 miles at the gallon.
But in 1959 the cars were getting massive, the V8s were getting bigger. It's like manufacturing companies were outdoing each other. That they would retool for an engine that was 2 cubic inches more than the competitor.
Yes. I think Ford had every cubic inch known to mankind.
Okay, Henry, great talking to you. Look, I love the car, and like I said, it's a privilege to have you on the show. It's such a world-class event here at Carlisle with the old Edsel doing you proud. Good on you, buddy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, that sums it up. The 2013 Carlisle Ford Nationals, and you've seen it first on Classic Restos. And I hope you've really enjoyed this last 2 weeks of this sensational event on the show. ClassicRestos.com.au, that's the website that you need for the DVD boxed sets of the show. Classic Restos merchandise, and of course to find out how my major sponsors can help you as well. As I say at the end of every show, until next week, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, signing off from Carlisle, Pennsylvania, United States of America. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like Classic Restos on Facebook. Facebook.com/Classic Restos TV. And episodes can be seen at Shannons.com.au. Classic Restos, proudly brought to you by Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.